What if I told you that behind some of Hollywood's greatest films stood a man so uncompromising, so terrifying, that even seasoned directors broke down in tears? This is the story of Gene Hackman, the Oscar-winning genius who became Hollywood's most feared enforcer. Gene Hackman wasn't just an actor. He was a storm, a man of discipline, raw power, and uncompromising standards. Colleagues often said that working with him was both the best and the worst experience of their careers. To some, he was a mentor. To others, he was a nightmare. In 1995, Hackman starred in Get Shorty. By then, he was already a two-time Oscar winner, known for his preparation and precision. John Travolta, fresh off the success of Pulp Fiction, walked onto the set with charm and casual energy. He asked Hackman, "How was your weekend?" Hackman's response cut the room cold. "I spent the whole weekend memorizing 8 pages of dialogue." Travolta laughed and replied, "That's a waste of a weekend." The crew froze. Hackman erupted. He unleashed his fury on the director, humiliated the crew, and even reduced the director's wife to tears. Production stopped, and the crew walked out until he calmed down. And yet, when the cameras rolled, Hackman delivered a performance that critics still celebrate today. If Travolta had seen Hackman's fire, Wes Anderson felt the full storm. Hackman hated Anderson's precise, detail-obsessed directing style. He mocked him, interrupted him, and challenged his authority at every turn. The abuse was so intense that Bill Murray, a star in his own right, showed up on his days off just to protect Anderson from Hackman's wrath. But out of that conflict came brilliance. Hackman's portrayal of Royal Tenenbaum, a manipulative patriarch, was both cruel and magnetic. He won a Golden Globe, and the role is still regarded as one of his finest. Life imitated art. Hackman was royal, difficult, destructive, unforgettable. Long before those battles, Hackman almost walked away from the role that defined his career. On the second day of shooting The French Connection, he quit. He despised the racism and brutality of his character, Popeye Doyle. He didn't want to play him, but director William Friedkin refused to let him go. Instead, he used psychological warfare, insulting Hackman, provoking him, tearing him down. Hackman hated Friedkin, but that very hatred fueled his performance. The result? A raw, electrifying portrayal that won Hackman his first Academy Award and secured his place in cinema history. In 1978, Hackman became Lex Luthor in Superman. Donner expected his Luthor to be bald, just like in the comics. Hackman refused. Not even a bald cap. He simply said no. So Donner improvised. Lex Luthor wore absurd wigs throughout the film. Only in the final scene, through camera tricks, did audiences glimpse the bald villain. Once again, Hackman won. His version of Luthor was witty, dangerous, and unforgettable. He set the standard for every sophisticated villain that followed. Hackman's behavior wasn't random. It came from wounds buried deep. His father abandoned him at 13. He faced rejection from acting schools and was told repeatedly that he lacked talent. He carried those scars throughout his career. To Hackman, weakness was unacceptable. He tested everyone around him, co-stars, directors, crew, because he believed only the strongest could survive Hollywood. It made him a legend. It also made him feared. By the 2000s, Hollywood had changed. Younger directors no longer tolerated tyrants, no matter how talented. Hackman's last great role in the Royal Tenenbaums proved he was still unmatched. But the chaos he created came at too high a price. In 2004, after Welcome to Mooseport, Hackman retired. He never returned to acting. Instead, he moved to New Mexico, where he painted, wrote novels, and lived quietly with his wife. On February 26, 2025, Hackman passed away at the age of 95. He died at home, peacefully, alongside his wife Betsy. Gene Hackman's legacy is a paradox. He was a tyrant on set but a genius on screen. He broke spirits yet elevated cinema. Was the pain worth the art? That question remains unanswered. But one truth is clear. Gene Hackman was Hollywood's last great enforcer.